All right.
The 2024 election and whether or not it
Here we go.
was legitimate. Various analyses have been done, and people have been saying, wait a minute, hold up. How in the world could Donald Trump win all of the battleground states? Pew came out with their breakdown of the election today, and they literally said that even if there was a dramatic increase of folks who voted in this election, Donald Trump would have still won. That's perplexing because folks talk about how, well, if you, Republicans even say if there's an increase in people voting, it favors the Democrats. Well, a leading expert in election forensics, Dr. Walter Mebane Jr. of the University of Michigan has found what he says is statistical evidence suggesting potential vote manipulation in the 2024 presidential election. His report analyzed 7 million votes across all 67 Pennsylvania counties and found that between 25,000 and 225,440 votes in the presidential race could have been fraudulent. His results support the findings released by the nonpartisan Election Truth Alliance. Nathan Taylor, the executive director of the Election Truth Alliance, joins us right now. Nathan, glad to have you here. So walk us through this. And there's somebody who's watching who's saying, all right, this is some, Donald Trump was saying it was rigged in 2016, rigged in 2020. Now this is just the left saying it was rigged against them in 2024.
Thanks so much for having me again. A lot of fun times we've had in the past. It's felt like just yesterday, but it's been months now. So a little bit about my background. As you said, I am one of the executive directors of the Election Truth Alliance, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that is, we kind of put it together to investigate the 24 election, past elections and future elections. And I think what's important here is, as you said, is there's been a lot of talk about this recently, but I do want to highlight what we're specifically talking about and the findings of Dr. Walter Mebane. This is not voter fraud. This is election fraud. And the difference is voter fraud is from people who may cast their votes. Election fraud is specifically a concern of a system or a systemic issue that's changing how people vote against their will. And I think that's what's important is the work that I've been doing in the ETA and all of our volunteers. It's focused on, are there concerns of our systems and are they free and fair? And, you know, what can we do to dive deeper? So to kind of highlight that, for North Carolina, we did prepare a nice PowerPoint and some data points for you. I don't know if you have that available or not, but let's talk a little bit about Dr. Walter Mebane, his findings and his background. If you're familiar, if you're not familiar, he's honestly like one of the leading election fraud experts in the United States and in the world, honestly. He was a part of a team that USAID actually provided a grant, and he made a election fraud toolkit that has been applied for multiple elections. He wrote papers for previous elections, I think 2019, and he actually looked at the 2020 presidential election as well and found no significant concerns of election fraud benefiting the winning candidate then. So what is really interesting is not only has he brought up his own concerns for Pennsylvania, which we have published our findings on our website as well, but we have also worked with him for North Carolina, and he's provided us his analysis of North Carolina, the entire state. So let's see if we can get any visuals up. If not, we'll do this the old-fashioned way. Let's see.
So here's what I have up. You have here why analyze North Carolina, and you say lay out here, for example, when comparing presidential to superintendent race, Kamala Harris received 122,231 fewer votes than Maurice Green, while Trump received 191,470 more votes than Michelle Morrow. Now, for folks to understand, this is what happened in North Carolina. Democrats won the governor's mansion, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, superintendent, and the Supreme Court race, but Harris lost the White House. And people are like, how in the hell did that happen? So now go right ahead.
Yep. And so what this is highlighting is this is kind of that overview. If you're familiar, a lot of people, such as Smart Elections, they talk about drop-off votes. I like to call them down ballot differences. And that's what you're highlighting is all across the swing states for the 2024 presidential election, the Democrats won up and down the ticket, but then Harris lost at the presidential level. And so what's really interesting is we initially started digging into that before we got into the more advanced statistics, such as what Dr. Walter Mebane does. And we're just highlighting here that all across every county in North Carolina, just to begin, we're seeing that Harris is always underperforming the Democrats on the same tickets. So we're talking, in this case, we're looking at the superintendent race, and we're seeing that she is getting up to 122,000 less votes across all of these counties. But Trump, on the other hand, he's always overperforming his party candidates.
So you have right here first down ballot analysis 2016 North Carolina presidential versus superintendent. And so what you're showing here, and I'm just going to zoom in here. The blue.
Yeah, this is 2016.
Right. So the blue is dim.
Ago.
The blue is dim. The red is Republican. And so what you're showing is so we see these blue lines below zero. So explain what that is.
Yep. So what we're looking at here is the zero line is the amount of votes the superintendent got for both parties. And then if you are above the line, as you said, the blue is Democrats. In this case, it was, I believe, Hillary Clinton in 2016. So if you're above the zero line, you got more votes than the superintendent of your party.
So that was 2000. That was 2016.
Yes.
But then we go down to 2020.
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting, as you'll see in comparison, is 2016, both candidates on average were overperforming. They were both sitting pretty solidly across and it was very, very back and forth, right? Some of them had more votes in some areas, some were sitting a little lower. We don't see a lot of negative votes here. We don't see a lot of negative drop off. And that's what's important is we think if this is what a more normal election looks like across a state, every county, now let's look at 2024. And here,
get the fuck out of here.
Stark difference in, wait a minute.
Get the fuck out of here.
Oh my God. Oh my.
This is just the beginning. Because in this case, this is North Carolina.
Look at their
We're
faces.
seeing this trend across a majority of the swing states. We're talking the more interesting
Are
ones
you
as
out of
well.
your fucking mind?
Pennsylvania for their election day voting looks very similar. And so what's important here? As we said, the zero line here on the left axis. Zero is the amount of votes the superintendent got. And if you're above the line, you got more votes. If you're below the line, you got less
They were
votes.
like,
Each
what?
of these lines, there's a red and a blue line per county. And so what's important here is we are seeing across every county in North Carolina.
Oh, not one county.
Not one county.
I think there's technically one where it's such a small underperformance that it shows almost nothing. But
I can't even see
every county. Yeah. Harris is underperforming the superintendent.
Come on, bro.
In the entire state.
In the entire state.
But if I go back to 16, this is 16.
Oh my Lord, guys.
And you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Matter of fact, it's easier to count the superintendent.
Nah, bro.
So all the counties in North Carolina, 16. So the blue below zero superintendent, right?
The blue below zero is the presidential Hillary Clinton.
Is the presidential. So only in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 6. So 28 counties in 2016, Hillary Clinton was below the superintendent. Correct?
What's more important
is that correct?
Yeah.
Just 28. Just 28. 24, every
What's important,
county.
though, as you said, is when you look at 2016, you see that both candidates overperformed.
Right.
You see in some places the Democrats overperformed significantly, and they were exceeding the amount of overperformance the Republicans had.
But in 24, there is
It's-
zero overperformance.
Oh my God,
Yes, and
y'all.
that's what's
What are
important
we
is
doing?
This does not match what you would
How?
expect to see as normal human voting behavior.
Wow.
This is too consistent across every county. There's no variation.
Oh.
This raises
Oh my
alarms
God.
of potential systemic manipulation.
And when you
where
say,
you would go
ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, and so as you said, systemic, when we talk about systemic is people go and they vote, and per county, it's going to be a little bit more random. Systemic manipulation is going to have an impact across multiple counties, multiple precincts, which normal human voting behavior can't do. You can't coordinate at that level. So what would cause this? Right? That's the question, is what would cause, in this case, Harris to underperform so consistently across every county in North Carolina? Do you have any thoughts? There's some common.
It's first, to your point, and this is the thing that people. This is impossible.
Thank you.
Listen, there are a number of counties, especially in the Black Belt in North Carolina, where there are a significant. Remember, Obama wins North Carolina by 14,100 votes in 2008. There are a lot of counties there where there are a lot of black people.
Mm-hmm.
This is saying, nah, nobody liked her. She underperformed across the entire state.
Oh my God.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and what the concern here is, sure, you could have a candidate that's unpopular, but this is too consistent. This is far too consistent, and we have more. If we go back up to the quantifying potential impacts, let's talk a little bit about Dr. Walter Mebane and his findings. And we have hard numbers for you. We have estimated if this is caused by a systemic issue. Let's say, for example, you're deleting votes. And so we've raised concerns. The ETA has raised concerns about the tabulation machines used across the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
There are vote counting machines, and then there are voting machines. They're not the same thing. And that's what's confusing for a lot of people.
Is this what you want up? The quantifying potential impact?
Yeah, this is great.
Got it.
And so we are concerned, and we are diving deeper into the machines that count the votes. And to quote a individual on his pre-inauguration night, he thanked a certain very involved individual that knows a lot about vote counting computers, and they won Pennsylvania like in a landslide. So what we're going to highlight here is, as you mentioned, Dr. Walter Mebane. He's a professor at the University of Michigan. He runs the Department of Political Science and Statistics. He is in our, we've looked, he is the leading expert in election forensics in the U.S. There's not a lot of people who have more experience than him that have done more. He's wrote multiple papers. He is cited by newspapers, and he's kind of held up as a credible source of election fraud analysis. And so he has his own model that he has made. It's called eForensics. And he has been developing this and using this, and he has applied it to Pennsylvania and has applied it to North Carolina. And he's provided us with those reports. He's put the Pennsylvania analysis up on his website. But in this case, we've not released North Carolina yet. No one has seen this yet. So we're going to talk about it. So what he did is he analyzed the statewide data for North Carolina. We did the same. We use a different analysis method. It's not as advanced. It's called linear regression analysis. We just look at the trend.
This
what
is
is
breaking news.
Human voting behavior, and then are there patterns that are not normal for a human to display across every precinct. And that's
Breaking
kind of what we
news.
do. We do it at a county level. We add it all up. So his analysis for North Carolina, a working paper that he shared with us, it estimates, based on his model, up to 207,000 possibly fraudulent votes.
Yo.
There's a caveat. That is the higher level. He has a stronger confidence, or a high confidence, of 102,000 or so votes. And so he does categorize his votes by how likely they are from, malicious activity to voting patterns, etc.
Yo.
But what's important here, the margin of victory for Trump in North Carolina at the presidential level, it's 184,000 votes. So if that higher estimate is caused by potential vote manipulation, deletion, addition, whatever could be caused at the tabulation level, that would be enough to change the outcome of the presidential race in North Carolina. Any questions there?
So, what jumps out at me is, does anybody give a damn? Are Democrats saying anything? Are independents saying anything? Or are folks just going, we don't want to sound like conspiracy theories. We don't want to sound like them. So we're just not going to address this at all. Because what you're laying out is saying that if that happened in 2024, whatever that system, it could happen again in 2028 and 2032 and beyond.
That is the concern we've raised time and time again, is if this is caused by the tabulation machines being messed with, it's not been resolved. It's not been investigated. And that's really what we're doing, is we're highlighting it. I have spoken to multiple different states, organizations. We've reached out to multiple political parties. And it's not that they aren't interested. It's not that they aren't willing to listen. The problem is they're not willing to talk about it. They're not willing to help us investigate. They're not willing to help us get recounts or audits to make sure, does the vote that the voter cast match what we're getting told is the results? And that's what's frustrating, is I feel like such a taboo because of the last 2 and 4 years that, as we said, this isn't election denial. This isn't us saying, hey, the elections are stolen, let's go storm the Capitol. This is us saying, hey, our process is potentially flawed. Let's investigate it. Let's make it better. And then we go from there. And it's not that hard to do. The reason why we're doing this and we're putting out these reports and we're highlighting these concerns is we're saying, hey, we've told you where to go look. Mm-hmm. Work with us. Let's go look. Let's go open up the ballot boxes. Let's go hand count the ballots.
Thank you.
And if there's a problem, we'll find it and we can go from there. If there's not a problem, our elections are free and fair. It hurts no one. We've raised donations to not only pay for those recounts and the time, but also to potentially fund lawsuits if we can't get people to come to the table, such as what we're trying to do in Pennsylvania. Is we've reached out to the Secretary of State there multiple times, presented him with our findings. Dr. Mebane has a report as well for Pennsylvania. And I can pull that up here in a moment in terms of the numbers, but we're saying, hey, if there was manipulation, it was potentially so much to change the presidential race in Pennsylvania as well. And we're getting silence so far.
Well, and keep in mind, Republicans in North Carolina, what they did was they removed the authority over the state elections board from the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, and gave it to the state auditor, because that's the only statewide position they won. Questions from our panel. Nola, your eyes have been like wide open for the past 10, 15 minutes.
What you got to say?
Go first.
What you got to say?
Yeah, wow, so many questions. I'm a political scientist, so my mouth is agape. And my question was actually going to be, did you run any regressions? And you've already answered that question. So I guess, for me, this seems very different from leaning into Russia, had something to do with the election. For me, I am looking at hardcore data. There's no variation. Mm-hmm. There's enough information here to definitely ask questions.
Yes.
So is the next step in what you all are trying to do is exactly what you're doing tonight, to take this case to the media, to take this case to the public.
Yes.
To then maybe put pressure on some of these states so some kind of investigation can occur. Is that part of this strategy that you're deploying right now?
Yep, we have at this point, we're kind of doing two things at the same time. Is one, we're putting out these reports, we're talking about it publicly, trying to make people aware of the concerns. And then the other half is we are trying to work with the counties and the states to get those audits done. I will say we've had some places that aren't in where we've made public kind of willing to work with us. But what's important is the chain of custody is really important, because the physical votes is what we're after, and we want to make sure those are maintained well so that if there is a recount and an audit of them, we're confident that those are what people originally cast. And that's what we keep pushing for, is just trying to raise awareness. As I said, we have the data. We're going to keep putting out the data. And we're more than happy for people to peer review this. We have a dashboard up on our website where you can actually go and download the data for Pennsylvania. And when we put out our North Carolina report, hopefully next week or so, you can go and download the data and you can do these analysis yourself. You can do a regression analysis yourself, as you said, and spot check.
Reese.
Thank you for presenting this data. I'm a data girl, so I do appreciate it. I'm curious. It sounds to me like you do think that the ballots, the physical ballots, would say something different. So is it your hypothesis or the range of hypotheses that this is a hardware issue in terms of the vote tabulation, or could this be multiple pronged, or could it be
This is a good question.
the reporting aspect from even if votes are tabulated correctly, when that is reported, those results are transmitted, that is where
That's a good
this
question.
manipulation
This is
happening.
great
What are your
questions.
thoughts on it?
So I will first say that we don't fully know in terms of all the options. There are multiple ways that this could have happened. The leading theory we have that we've tested time and time again and has seemed to hold up so far, as we said, is we're concerned that the tabulation machines themselves, depending on brands, there's only two major brands. There's technically a handful of major voting machine brands and polling system brands, but the top two span 70% of the US. And I will say that the places we found manipulation do happen to use those major brands. And the concern, as you said, is we are worried that if there is a compromise of the tabulation system, malicious activity, a third party, we don't truly know. It looks the same on paper. All our analysis says is, hey, there are these anomalies, and they are occurring in such a way that this matches election, potential election fraud seen in Russian elections, seen in recently Poland elections. And Poland just recently had some findings where they found there were not only concerns of election fraud, but they went and they did recounts. And they found, I think, over 10 or 12 polling stations so far where it swapped the outcome of those locations.
You said 70% of voting equipment compromised nationally. Go back to the graphic. And then you said the voting technology brand one prevalence was used in 93 of the 100 counties in North Carolina.
So, as you said, there are two major brands, but there's a third and a fourth that we do see pop up. What is important here is there have been concerns of the compromise of these systems. For example, Free Speech for People had multiple cybersecurity and computer tech experts write co-author a paper and talk about compromising concerns back in 22 and earlier. We've dug into this as well. We are seeing concerns going back to 2016 for example, in Florida, there were two different counties that reported malware on some of their voting system, some of their systems they have. And I will highlight this, and this is what is important, is the common argument we hear is, well, our voting systems aren't connected to the internet. My background is in cybersecurity. I was a 25 Bravo computer tech specialist in the Army Reserves, and then became a signal officer in the Army Guard after I got my degree. I've looked into how we're running our systems. I have concerns because the largest tabulation system and poll book system we use does potentially have modems in them, cellular modems. So I think it's inaccurate to say that they're not connected to the internet and you couldn't do something. There are so many opportunities to mess with systems. The only way to make sure that they're not being messed with is making sure we do appropriate audits. Those audits are double checked by third parties, and then physically looking at the votes as well and doing some hand counts where there are anomalies. And that's what we're doing, right? Is we're highlighting, here are the anomalies. Let's go look.
Greg.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you for this report. I'm starting to glance through Professor Mebane's Pennsylvania numbers, and they are quite stunning. Thinking about Donald Trump back in March, I guess, when he was talking about Elon Musk knowing these computers, these voting computers, and we ended up winning Pennsylvania landslide. And I love how Trump doesn't retain a whole lot. in his mind. So when he repeats a phrase like vote counting computers, he's moved from voting machines to something quite different maybe. And so maybe you previewed for us where you all are headed. I'm wondering if it's too early to talk lawsuits. I don't know necessarily who would prove standing.
We got to do lawsuits.
Are you hoping maybe through these audits and to get down maybe to, I don't want to say a smoking gun, but a chain that would allow a voter, I'm sure they'd throw it out and say, well, you can't prove your vote was manipulated, or I think the phrase that he uses is subject to malevolent manipulation. I'm like, damn, this is strong language for an academic. But could you imagine a lawsuit at some point? And if so, what might it look like?
It's an excellent question. I can, and we've kind of planned out some of those concerns as we push forward. Lawsuits are honestly kind of the last resort, right? We want to work with the counties so that they are willing to do these investigations. The states are willing to do these investigations because lawsuits are slow, and they give a lot of time that we really don't have, right? We're already 6-7 months into this term, and the midterms are just around the corner. And if these machines aren't being looked into and there are problems, then the midterms are potentially up next. So what would a lawsuit look like? At this point, as you said, it comes down to standing. What can we prove? And is statistical analysis enough evidence to really open those ballot boxes? We found that no one knows. This has not really been done at this level before. The closest examples we have are 2 and 4 years ago, and those didn't go very well. I think 60+ lawsuits, and none of them really got good results. But in that case, so for us, I think what we'll do first, and as we've been doing, is we're pushing for some targeted recounts in places where we are finding anomalies. If those audits and those recounts show the concerns that we are seeing, then that actually, think of it as a domino effect, right? If we prove this happened anywhere that our analysis brings up anomalies, then theoretically anywhere that our analysis shows anomalies could have been manipulated as well. And I hope that'll open the doors. For example, we recently did an analysis for Minnesota. I had someone personally send that analysis off to individuals in Minnesota. And so hopefully they are willing to come to the table as well. And I do have some numbers. I think we were looking at potentially up to 88,000 anomalous votes in Minnesota, even though Minnesota was won very handily by the Democrats. So I think what's important is if this happens, if there's a compromise of the tabulation machines, it didn't just happen in places that it needed to change the outcome. It potentially happened anywhere that these systems are being used, and that makes it easier on us to go and work with places that may be more willing to sit down and ask these questions and do the work to verify.
Thank you.
To that point about Minnesota, remember, a lot during the election, you kept hearing, wait a minute, is Minnesota in play? Is Minnesota in play? You heard all of that, and folks talking about how Minnesota has changed. And so I think to your point, if you take a blue state and you're able to examine this and show what happened, then you can say, hey, let's look elsewhere. It is absolutely fascinating. Hopefully these county elections, state election folks will listen and just want to get to the heart of the matter, because look, Republicans keep talking about the integrity of the ballot box. Well, let's see if they actually mean it. Nathan Taylor, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Folks, you see right here, electiontruthalliance.org. You see right here their QR code, scan to donate. Let me blow that up. And so if you want to support their work, that is their QR code right there. Going to a quick break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Wow. There it is.
We don't stand up for Medicaid.
Amazing. What an interview. That was incredible work. He killed it. Did you see their reactions, though? Let's talk about this for a minute. So, this is breaking news for me. I didn't know Dr. Walter Mebane did an analysis on North Carolina. I only know about the one he did on Pennsylvania, but apparently, he's working with Election Truth Alliance on all of the swing states. So, North Carolina was like the major one. That one, I already knew something did not make any sense. How did the governor of North Carolina get more votes than Donald Trump and Kamala Harris? That doesn't make any sense to me. whatsoever. So when you look at the fact that Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris by, I think, 183,000, and then Dr. Walter Mebane estimates that it's around 203,000 votes that were tampered with, manipulated, and he's not stating how. He's not saying that it was tabulation machines, if it was false reporting or anything. I love that woman on the panel asked that, because she even brought up the fact that how do we know that it wasn't false reporting? Maybe Kamala Harris won the election and it's the news media saying that Trump won. That's also a possibility. We didn't think about that. But we also have to consider this idea as well. This is going to really shake shit up. And I'm happy that the panel got to speak, because the data was indisputable. When he showed them that Kamala Harris was literally losing votes across the board, like she didn't gain any votes in any county in North Carolina. Nobody picked her. She underperformed in every county. Every county in North Carolina. That's impossible. And everybody on the panel, everybody watching, I guarantee you their mouth said, because that's impossible. And so we need to get this data in front of everybody. This is the shit that is going to bust a hole in everything. And see, the thing about North Carolina, again, just like Pennsylvania, Democrats have won down the ballot. So we have a great opportunity of getting these hand counts if we just talk to them. But unfortunately, a lot of these Democrats are playing this game where we don't want to sound like them. We don't want to look like them. Okay, if that's the case, then guess what we have to do? We now have to file a lawsuit. We now have to push the envelope just a little bit and force them to realize, hey, hold on for a minute. If we are going to participate in these elections, we need to realize, we need to hope that this is fair, that this is free. You want to say it's free and fair? Okay, then you know what? We need to know that when we participate, that our votes are actually counting, right? And so for me, seeing that data gives me no confidence in our elections. Literally none. And so I am vehemently going to be pushing the work of Election Truth Alliance. I'm going to vehemently be pushing the work of Smart Elections. I am going to be pushing whoever is trying to find the truth. And right now, the shit that we're seeing from Dr. Walter Mebane in all of these states, it is indisputable that something happened. I believe the election was stolen. I believe Donald Trump, Elon Musk, whoever else was involved, manipulated these numbers to cheat, to steal the election from the black woman. And I think with Rockland County, he didn't get a chance to talk about Rockland County. He focused strictly on North Carolina and Pennsylvania. I wish he would have brought up Rockland County, but he didn't. That's okay. But this data, this is the key here. We're not like them. We're not like the right. We're not like these crazy MAGA red hats who stormed the Capitol because their God King said it was stolen. Every accusation is a confession. Every accusation is a confession. He's saying they stole it because he tried to steal it. And the only way they could have actually won, Biden, the Democrats could have actually won in 2020 is if they stole it too. Because he thought for sure there was no way you could have won this unless you stole it. That's how I know, because I tried to steal it. It's incredible when you just look at the damn data. The data's right there. You can't dispute the data, ladies and gentlemen. The data says it all. And I need you all to get with Election Truth Alliance, to get with Smart Elections. Do what you have to do to support this. So, I don't think I linked everything in the description box. I'm going to do that right now. So, I'm going to change the description really quickly. If you want to support what you're seeing here, here's how you do it. So, as he said, Nathan said they are currently trying to get hand counts the right way. They're not trying to, how do I put this? They're not trying to do any lawsuits right now. They're trying to go through the right channels to get a hand count without stepping on any toes. And I respect that. And man, I hope they get that through. I hope they are successful with that. But one of them asked, have you guys considered filing a lawsuit? I think, and I mean this wholeheartedly, I respect what Nathan's trying to do. I love what Nathan's trying to do by trying to do things the right way, but I'm at the point now where I'm like, fuck this, let's go to court. Let's go to court. Okay, guys, if you refresh your page, I just updated the description box of this YouTube live. So it has the link to Smart Elections. It has the link to Dr. Walter Mebane's breakdown. You can check that out for yourself. But I'm at the point now where I'm like, fuck this. Let's go to court right now. Right now. Let's go to court. I'm done. I'm done letting these mofos lie, gaslight us. We need to know the truth. And if the Democrats won't do right by its citizens, then you know what? We're going to make them do right. We're going to require that they do hand counts, that they do recounts to find out the truth. And if we do the hand counts, do the recounts, and we find out that he actually won fair and square, sweet. We'll move on. We'll realize that, all right, our elections are fair, our elections are secure. So what we need to do now is get people out there and vote. And change the messaging a little bit, right? But I'm not doing any of that shit. I'm not changing a goddamn thing. I'm not changing a goddamn thing until we realize what actually happened. This is ridiculous. Kamala Harris wrote about this in her book. The old Dem establishment found it more important to say free and fair elections rather than contest and risk civil war. Well, you know what? We're on the verge of civil war any goddamn ways. We're on the verge of civil war anyways. You're just prolonging it. I'm done with this. Let's see what the fuck happened. Because I do think he stole the election. Come on, man. Let's dig into that Pandora's box. But I can't be the only person's mouth who dropped when I saw what Roland Martin showed us. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry. And I sincerely mean this from the bottom of my heart. If you look at this and you still think nothing happened, my friend, you're the one that's Delulu. This is data. Dr. Walter Mebane, an expert at the field, said there's upwards to, I want to get this number right, 225,000 in Pennsylvania. And then North Carolina, he said, was 206. What are we doing? What are we doing? Come on now. Come on. Anyways, thank y'all so much for watching that with me. You know what to do. Hey, the links are in the description. Go donate to Smart. $1, at least $1 to Smart to help them get their lawsuit to Rockland County and stay up to date with Election Truth Alliance. Go donate to them as well. Go help them raise enough money to go for their lawsuits if they need them. They want to do things properly. They want to go through the right channels to get the hand counts. But I'm at the point now where I'm like, fuck that. File the lawsuit. Let's go. We gonna find out once and for all what actually happened. Because I think these mofos stole it. I think we all know what happened. But thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream. We're going to head back over to TikTok. I need to drop this one short really quickly to promote what we just saw. Because this is breaking news. This is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. You guys are awesome. Be sure you subscribe to the channel if you're coming over here from TikTok. And as always, stay hopeful. Trust your gut. And know once and for all, you are not crazy.